Hello and welcome to the Fen Den. I'm your host, Sean Allen Fenn, and my goal is to win your hearts and to change your minds. Last weekend, I attended a lecture on an obscure tradition named Pinkster. It sounds like a dating app for sunburned people who crave equality. All the profile descriptions are the same. Prefers long walks on the beach, disdain for wearing sunblock. The good thing is no one gets rejected. The bad thing is everyone dies of skin cancer because life isn't fair. It's not a dating app that solves inequality. It's a religious tradition that happened in New York during the slave trade when Christian Dutch communities gave their slaves a few days off during a religious event known as Pentecost and Shavuot in the Jewish tradition. It's insane that slavery existed in America, but it's part of our history. So how do we reconcile with uncomfortable situations and societal taboos? We collectively handle it in one of two ways. Number one, we make jokes about it. Or number two, we reinforce it by reminding people of it, protesting the past to keep it in the present, and invariably affirming the continuity of it into the future and wonder why nothing has changed. Sometimes an overzealous protester will give a name to something to give it legs. Slaveocracy in this case. The person who gave this lecture coined the term for embodying racism into new levels of pronoun acrobatics, where generalizations and false equivalences blow the facts out of proportion like mushroom clouds. For example, claiming that classical music connotes white Europeans, which means it ostracizes people of African descent. Or employees who work for minimum wage are slaves of mean oppressive corporations, which is the same thing as a plantation in the 1700s. It's not the same thing. Don't get me wrong. Slavery was and still is an atrocious stain on American history. But holding yourself prisoner to the past is not helping anyone. I've said the difference between art and design is that design is useful. Art isn't actually useless, however. Ironically, what makes an object art is its lack of utility, which in my opinion elevates it beyond a commodity. And that's exactly why art is useful. It's a coping mechanism. We make art about uncomfortable realities, facing ourselves like a mirror, questioning who we are and how our perception affects our reality. I find it interesting that this story broke out about Drake in Blackface. If you haven't heard about this, the rapper Drake, who is his ethnicity is half black and half Jewish, really talented guy who used to be an actor. That's how he got started before his music career. And this other rapper dude named Pusha T called him out and posted a pic of him, of Drake, from when he was young in blackface. Historically, blackface is a theatrical device that stems from the racism that accompanied the attitude at the time, to where usually white actors would characterize black people in a derogatory way. According to Drake, it was a protest piece. It was a performance about racism. And the context was a complaint, according to Drake, that it's harder to get an acting gig because of his ethnicity. While it was probably a misguided stunt out of naivete, it was art about a complaint about art. And is that bad? It was taken out of context. How is that any different than black culture owning the N-word, which I can't say because I'm not Quentin Tarantino? Which brings me to the topic of this episode, and this is going to be a quick episode of The Fenden. If you're not dissatisfied, you're lazy. In the Torah, the Israelites became dissatisfied with heavenly bread called manna and complained to Moses. They demanded meat, and God gave it to them. So much, in fact, they were stuffed like it was an all-you-can-eat meat lovers buffet on the Vegas Strip. It was excessive abundance because they were dissatisfied. The reason I started this podcast is because I'm dissatisfied. So I'm complaining. It's not a complaint in the negative sense. It is a protest. It is making a decision, demanding something else. I'm blessed and grateful for what I have, and I'm dissatisfied. Are you? If you compare yourself to others and say, they have it better than me, or at least my situation is not as bad as theirs, you're satisfied. I'm like Mick Jagger. I can't get no satisfaction. I demand abundance. More meat than I can eat. If that's you, subscribe, like, and share this now. That's all the time I've got. I told you this is going to be a quick one. All right.